This is a WCBI First Alert Severe Weather Update.
I'm WCBI TV Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. It is 4:05. We have a tornado warning now in effect across northeast Mississippi for the storm cell that is moving to the north of Tupelo right now. This is actually to the west of Baldwin right now. Let me go ahead and zoom in on the particulars here. This is Doppler radar indicated. I'm going to turn off some of the lightning and some of the mess, but you can see that storm cell right there that is moving off to the northeast now rather quickly. And these are the storm particulars that we are concerned about. We've got a BTI of 4.0. That is a fairly high number, and we would expect to see potential a tornado type situation develop in a tornado confirmed north of Tupelo. That's what. Okay, so via chat, we do have a possible confirmed tornado with the storm cell here north of Tupelo, and that is why we are now on the air at this point here across northeast Mississippi. Let me show you where we do have our velocity products here in play, and we're getting some rotation with that storm cell to the north of Tupelo here. All right, that would be near the Alpine community right there where we are most concerned. Reported tornado there with that storm cell. So let's go to our shear rate and zoom on in. Let's see, where are we talking about here? Okay, so the green here is where we have some of the fastest moving wind with this particular storm complex. There's some wind up here. Amanda, go ahead and just shout out where we have the best potential for some of this. Where this reported tornado was, do we have any information on that?
All the information that is in chat just says tornado north of Tupelo. Okay, it's a radar indicated tornado. So it's just, again, what we're seeing. There is not a confirmed report on the ground. It's just based on radar imagery. That is at least.
It looks like there's two areas of rotation here. One up here near Boonville, and another area down here near the Alpine community too. So which part of this are we looking at?
I am not sure.
The greatest amount of rotation we have is this area here near the Geeville community right there west of Frankstown. That's where we have the greatest signature of some potential wind at this point in time. So that is where we, at this point, per radar, seem to have the best looking situation right now, west and southwest of Boonville right now here in northeast Mississippi. So this is a Doppler radar indicated tornado warning here, again, for parts of Prentiss County. That does include Boonville, northern parts of Lee County. This does not include Tupelo at this point, and extreme eastern parts of Union County near the Alpine community. So we have a couple of storm cells going on across the region. We expected this to really just blow up here, and this is a 3-hour loop. Let's just put this on an hour loop, and you can see how we've had an explosion of storms across our region. This line, this dry line, is setting up back to the west, is kicking off these storms to develop here. And that is what we are contending with right now. So a big complex of storms. I'm going to go to our Alpha Insurance camera in Tupelo and move this thing back around to the north so you can see the storms that we have moving on through. As I back this over to not due east, we want to go due north at this point. There we go. So we're looking north. We're going to go back to the a little bit of west of due north here. Okay. So there's some of the storm activity. We're looking back to the north and northwest of downtown Tupelo. Let's go back to the right a little bit. Okay. So there's due north at this point. So that is a live look from Tupelo. Nothing too sinister going on. Amanda, what do you got?
I was going to say nothing as far as the tornado goes, but it is in fact hailing in the Blackland area of Prentiss County. So the other thing with this storm is we are seeing some hail signatures showing up on radar as well. Let's see if I can go to hail radar, especially that southernmost storm. Yeah, you can see there on our hail swath, large areas that we're seeing the possibility for some large hail. That's the secondary storm, or secondary thing with this storm. Not only is there rotation that prompted the tornado warning, but there is also a severe thunderstorm warning that is for some up to 1.75-inch hail. So
very large hail possible
hail
today. Okay, yeah, keep an eye on that. Amanda, appreciate you chiming in. Just feel free to chime in whenever. But these areas in pink, this is where we are looking at where we've likely had some hail fall from these storms over the last hour in time. So that is one aspect. And going back to the southern storm here, west of Baldwin, a couple of miles, this is where we're seeing that black right there, right along Highway 370. There is probably some very large hail falling out of that storm complex right now. So this is Doppler radar indicated possible tornado warning with this complex. Let's go back to our shear rate and try and pick up where we have some of the wind. What's that, Amanda?
I said that looks like it has picked up.
Okay, yes. We have seen some of this wind energy pick up. So southwest of Boonville, northwest of Frankstown, right there, that little dot of red, that seems to be a bit of a bullseye. At this point, just west of US 45 here across the western part of our coverage area, or the northern part of our coverage area right now. So if there's going to be some tornado potential, it's going to be up in that particular part of the storm here, and this is moving off to the northeast, probably at, let's go to our velocity here, and that's a pretty good couplet right there. So this area right here, right along County Road 7450 and 7461 as of the last scan. These storms are racing to the northeast at 50, but that area of rotation right there is where we are most concerned, and that is why I'm going to do a storm track right there at about 50 miles per hour, and that will put this in the Boonville area at 419. So in about 7 minutes or less, be in your tornado safety zone right now. This is at this point, a Doppler radar indicated tornado warning, but we are seeing signs of rotation here within the storm, and some of that could actually come on down to the ground. So that is the wind direction. Let me show you our shear rate product, and that meshes up quite clearly right there, that dot of red, where we have some of the best signatures for rotation at this point in time. So that's the situation we're dealing with. This tornado warning goes until 4:30
They have canceled
this
it
afternoon.
for Union, but they have continued it for Lee and Prentice.
Okay, yeah. So Union, you are now in the clear as far as the tornado warning potential here. That is good news, but there's still a very strong storm cell southeast of New Albany. We will be watching that storm. It is still under that severe thunderstorm warning. So any one of these storm cells could produce some very large hail.
Quarter-size hail confirmed.
Quarter-size hail confirmed. Okay. Which one of those storms was it? But definitely we've had some very large hail.
That's the Blackland area of Prentice County.
Okay.
So not...
So we've had some very large hail and some of this activity today, as we mentioned. And just looking at the reflectivity there, west of Baldwin, as they move this over, that area in black there, west of Baldwin, coming into your vicinity right now, there's probably some very large hail in that at this point as we put on our hail radar product. And whenever we see that white show up right there, that is a pretty clear indication of some extremely large hail. So if nothing else in Baldwin and just to your north, you're going to see some large hail here in the next couple of minutes here. These storms are racing off to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. Let's go back to our velocity here. We are still getting signatures of rotation. The best one right there southwest of Boonville. And this is essentially just north of the Frankstown community, right along 45 between there and Osborne Creek. Green, red together, right there, there's a velocity couplet, and that is a good sign that we do have some rotation that could produce a tornado at any given second here with that storm cell. Out ahead of it, that would be some very heavy rain, probably some very large hail, where we are looking at some of that pink show up right over Boonville right now. There's the updated scan. And let's go back to our velocity here. So we're still waiting on that. Our shear rate product is down just a tad. But we're still getting some greens really lining up right along 45 from Boonville down to Frankstown, and another cell down there towards Baldwin and east of the Bethany community. This is where we have some very strong wind potential. And again, it doesn't mean that there is a tornado developing when we show you that product. It just means that there's some fast-moving wind in different directions here. And often that can produce some damaging straight-line wind and even some tornadoes. Amanda?
If we can get them to pull links 1, even full screen is fine. This is a picture that our very own meteorologist Alex Puckett took of the storm. So again, notice we can see at least a little bit of a lowering with that as well. So that's the storm we're kind of looking at. It is in fact showing some rotation. And then Jacob Dickey as well mentioned that there was plenty of upward motion with this storm.
Okay, so that is the storm cell north of Tupelo right now. That is what we are on. And Amanda, real quick, if you can go over there and just make sure that Jacob's feed is up, just so we have it over there on our Viper computer.
There's nothing up right now.
Okay, there's nothing up. So we've got Jacob, we've got Alex out in the field this afternoon, and we've got Amanda here, obviously, in the studio. And
hey, Keith, I'm going to be just off camera here.
Yeah, go ahead,
but,
chime on in.
Prentiss County Sheriff Randy Toller tells me a deputy did report heavy hail just southeast of Boonville, highways 4 and 30, just a short time ago. Could not get a size on that, but that's what they were seeing just southeast of Boonville there.
And you can see, speaking of that, there's that swath as that storm was moving into Boonville, so that kind of goes along with that line of thinking. Appreciate that, Joey. Thank you. And we've had another swath of hail from Baldwin back to the west towards New Albany, too. So we have these two storm cells that are just rapidly developing up here. They started off in a line, and I'm going to clear some of this gunk off of the screen, if you will, and animate this for you so you can see a little bit more clearly exactly the situation that we are contending with. We have a couple of storm cells that fired up towards Oxford. These are really along a dry line that is moving on through, so that is forcing the air to rise, and we have some fast upper-level wind energy zipping on overhead of us today. And so we have really been bullseyeing northeast Mississippi all day long. If you were watching Alex this morning or at noon, if you've been following us on social media, we have been really suggesting this area up here was going to be the best potential for some storms to initially fire by 3 or 4 o'clock. And that's exactly what's happened today. So will these develop farther south towards the Golden Triangle area? We'll wait and see. But at this point, the higher odds for severe weather potential will be really north of Highway 278 in Mississippi and probably here across northern Alabama. But we'll just see how this all translates as we go throughout the course of the afternoon. So that's a little bit of a look at the big picture here. And I want to go back and just do another quick storm track for you on these storm cells and inspect where we have some of the wind velocity with these storms. So we have a couple of different areas of concern at this point. And we are getting some rotation. There's a couple of different areas where the storms are rotating within this tornado warning polygon. So again, this tornado warning is going until 4:30. No confirmation as of yet as far as a tornado warning situation that is confirmed with an actual tornado coming down to the ground, but we're watching out for some of these areas of rotation within the storm cell that, if nothing else, allowing these storms to tap into this unstable air to produce some very large hail. So that's the tornado situation. Let me show you where we do have the current hail radar product, and all that area in white right there northeast of Baldwin, that is probably some very large hail that could be quarter to golf ball size or larger. Again, we've had numerous reports today of large hail within these storm cells, and it's I'm switching out between products back and forth here, so some of the data takes a little bit longer to load. But anytime we show you that brighter pink, even some black showing up in that pink, that's where we would suggest some large hail falling. And still within that severe thunderstorm warning down here southeast of New Albany, near the Reese community right there, there's probably some hail in that as well, southwest of the Ellistown community too, as we pop on our hail swath product. Okay, so we're continuing to monitor that situation right now. We've got Jacob and Alex out in the field. We're going to try to get Jacob's feed up there where they are on these storm cells right now. So we're still efforting that at this point. So stay tuned for that. We do have those folks live in the field. Let's go back to our Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Tupelo, looking back to the north. And I'm going to move this back around a little bit. All right, so we can see a little bit. So you can see with these clouds racing on through, we've had the atmosphere become a little bit more agitated throughout the course of the day. This morning, the clouds are fairly stratified, and the air was pretty stable. Now things have become unstable. We're getting these taller and taller clouds. Again, it is 4:19 this afternoon, and we can see quite clearly some of these clouds developing. And there's the sun on the western horizon, so these clouds are coming in from the south and west, and they are moving off to the northeast. Okay, so that is the current situation there. Let's go to our satellite product, and I want to show you the visible satellite. This is a high-resolution visible satellite, and this is going to be for the last hour in time. This is going to be a 5-minute lapse, if this will load. Apparently this will not load, but we do have some explosion of storms across the region. This is the infrared, and the brighter colors.
Has expired.
The tornado warning has expired. Okay, so that's certainly good news. The tornado warning has been canceled, expired early. We're going to stay here just a little bit longer, but you can see the brighter colors showing up here across our high-resolution satellite. The higher the cloud top, the colder they are. And when we see some of that blue and orange pop up, we would expect to see some stronger storms. So that's what we are contending with. Let's go back to our radar product and inspect these storms. Once again, the tornado warning, as Amanda just said, has been canceled. So right now we have no tornado warning in our area. We're staying on the air. Joey's going to chime in real quick.
Yeah, I was going to say, take Jacob, if we could, on live too.
Okay, there's Jacob's feed right now. Okay.
Yeah,
Frozen, but that is the storm that they have, they were watching with that tornado warning.
And you can see this is a frozen feed, and we're getting it to come in and out, but you can see behind that cloud there's a lot of rain and probably some hail in that too. So that's a pretty good signature of some of that.
And so far, no damage reports from Union County or Lee County either on any of these storms. So just the hail reports coming out of Prentice is all we have at the moment, Keith.
Okay, thanks Joey, thanks Amanda, and we appreciate Alex and Jacob out in the field too right now. So as of right now, it's 4:22. What we're going to do is go back to our regular programming. The tornado warning is canceled, correct, Amanda? And
sometimes
it takes a while for this to...
It says Memphis expires tornado warning for Lee and Prentice.
Okay, so we're going to dump out of our severe weather coverage right now, but let me just let you know that we have a tornado watch for all of these areas in the yellow until 11 o'clock tonight, all of West Alabama, a good chunk of northeast Mississippi, but we really think the severe weather threat's going to wind down probably around sunset here in our coverage area, and the storms will really start to get going a little bit more so just to our east later this evening. So a tornado watch, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Certainly good news. We will be here with you as we go throughout the rest of the afternoon, and if we're not here before, we'll see you on WCBI News at 5.
This has been a WCBI First Alert Severe Weather Update. Stay connected with the First Alert Weather Team online at WCBI.com, on social media, and on your mobile device with the WCBI News app.
I haven't received any updates. Don't have to ask that question.
Thank you.
I'm still Mike, so we're good.
This is a WCDI First Alert Severe Weather Update.
Hello there, friends. Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson here once again. 429, a new tornado warning for this storm cell near Marietta in southern parts of Prentiss County. There's some rotation right there, a funnel cloud being spotted. Not a confirmed tornado just yet. In addition, some very large hail, but we do have a new tornado warning now because of that storm until 5 o'clock. There's the updated scan, and that area of rotation is right there. So we just left you, and we're coming on back with another storm here this afternoon. So let me go over and show the radar signature. And if nothing else, we're getting some very large hail out ahead of it, and then there's that rotation back to the southwestern part of that storm cell. So that's what we're watching at this point. Let me go back and put our shear rate product onto this. And again, we are looking at some of that fast-moving wind here within that storm line along that storm front. Again, right there near Marietta is where we have some of that possible development. Okay. And we do have a funnel cloud reported with this storm cell.
Between Baldwin and Marietta.
Okay, so between Baldwin and Marietta, we have that funnel cloud spotted with this particular part of the storm, which would be right there, and that is right along County Road 5345 near Marietta right now, right along 371. So that is what we are monitoring at this point. Funnel cloud, rotating thunderstorm here, and there is the rotation right here, and that is essentially moving over 371 right there. So the funnel cloud would be right here. That's where the low cloud base would be. Fanning out ahead of it is where we have all of that rain and hail most likely occurring right now, and that would be over here towards New Site. So large hail rain here.
There is at least quarter-size hail confirmed in New Site.
Okay, so speaking of the devil, manager says, again, quarter-size hail with that leading aspect of the storm right there. And that kind of goes along with what we're thinking here as far as the radar imagery too, because that white right there near New Site, that would be that large hail depicted with this particular storm cell. So large hail here in pink, possible funnel cloud, maybe developing tornado here where we've outlined it near the Marietta community here in southern parts of Prentiss County. And this is racing off to the east at about 50 miles per hour, as all these storms are today. And let's do a track on the rotation, and that would take it through these areas, including the East Prentiss community by 439, and maybe Belmont by 450. So that would be the rotation. Now I want to do a storm track on where we have the hail actually occurring right now, and we have. Let me go back to our hail radar. So very large hail coming in to the...
If we can actually switch over to Live 2, we have Jacob and
okay.
Was it Saltillo?
All right,
yes.
So there's Jacob's live feed, and he's in Saltillo? Okay, and so he must be looking due north at the... this is not that particular storm. He's looking north towards the Guntown storm. But this is what these storms are looking like, very ragged in nature here, some of these cloud bases. So he would be looking at the Guntown storm, where we've also had some very large hail. And if you look at that image right now, you can see what looks like a little bit of green or blue showing up into that. And that is likely some very heavy rain, likely some hail coming in with that particular thunderstorm here. Again, this is Jacob Dickey live in Saltillo looking to the north, and he's probably along 45, I would guess, at this point. Don't have an actual pinpoint of where he is, but that's a live picture. Let's go back to our radar real quick. I want to show you. We're looking at that right there. So Jacob was in Saltillo looking at that. Probably some large hail in there with the southern storm, and that pink and even some black showing up there along 319 near Guntown. There is likely some large hail showing up in that too. So the atmosphere is very conducive to some large hail, golf ball sized hail or larger in some of these stronger updrafts today. And going back to the possible funnel cloud, well, let me just say the Guntown storm we were just showing you, large hail, rain, perhaps some damaging wind, not a tornado threat at this time. Where we have had that reported funnel cloud, that was over here near the Marietta community, right here with the base of that storm cell. And then out ahead of it, all of that pink and all of that black here between New Site and East Prentice, that is some very large hail and some very heavy rainfall. We've had numerous reports of hail. Let's go back to our velocity, and we are still looking at this couplet. Not quite as impressive as what it had been in some previous scans, but we're still looking at if there's rotation with it that's producing something that's going to be right there, and our updated scan shows a little bit tighter couplet there, and that is right along County Road 4050, just northeast of Marietta here in southeastern Prentice County. So there's the Hobo Station community, just for reference. There's East Prentice, and right there east of Marietta, along County Road 4001 and 4050, that's where we have some of the most recent indication via radar of rotation. And when we put on our shear rate, bam, right there, we've really tightened that up. So east of Marietta right now, this is probably one of the most impressive looking parts of the storms we've had that have moved on today through our area. It's developing right now east of Marietta, a couple of miles here. So this is moving closer and closer to the Temtom waterway right here. Southeastern parts of Prentice County right there south of Hobo Station. This is something that we are really concerned about, being a driver of what could be at some point a tornado that gets out of the storm cell. Right now we're looking at, we've had previous reports of funnel clouds with this, and we're monitoring some of these storm cells. Right now this is Doppler radar indicated. This is a tornado warning that goes, if you're just tuning on in, it's 4:35. This tornado warning goes until 5 o'clock for southeastern parts of Prentice and southern parts of Tishomingo County. So heads up for those of you watching in southeastern Prentice and Tishomingo County, southern Tishomingo County. Let me put on our shear rate again and see how fast this stuff will pulse up and then pulse back down. So our updated scan is not nearly as impressive as the one that we just had. I'm going to just go back one scan. You can see where it was, and this is now where it is now. So not quite as intense, but it is moving towards the East Prentice area. I'm going to do a track on this just so you at home and those of you watching online perhaps can get a handle on where this stuff is headed. So at this point, at this speed, assuming it holds together, this would be where the rotation is. And so East Prentice is right over you right now, and perhaps by 450 in Belmont, that would be over here in southeastern parts of Tishomingo County. But Dennis, Belmont, these areas here south of the Tishomingo community here along Highway 25, east of the Tentom, you really need to be watching out for this at this point. And there's Bay Springs Lake right there. So it's moving into your vicinity right now, and this warning goes until 5 o'clock. Okay. Now, Amanda, remind me, where exactly is Alex located at this point? He's reporting some pretty strong winds on the storm that he's following, and I've been all over the map here trying to find exactly what storm he is on. He may be on this leading storm, I do believe.
Let me see.
But we're going to try and track down Alex. We've got Alex, we've got Jacob out in the field. Again, I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. This is severe weather coverage going on across northeast Mississippi.
I want to say he was in Tupelo.
Okay, so maybe the last check we had of him was somewhere near the Tupelo area. So we'll get back in contact with him, but he's reporting some strong wind with some of this. If nothing else, gusty wind over 45.
I was going to say,
perhaps some very large hail.
there's at least an ASOS observation from the Tupelo airport at gusts of 36, so in excess of probably 40 miles per hour at this point.
Okay, we're really concentrating on this part of the storm. Well, let me just back out real quick. If you're just tuning on in, Guntown, large hail, not a tornado threat at this point. Northwest of Belmont, large hail. We are watching the back side of this storm here, right near the East Prentice community, because this is where we are still expecting maybe a funnel cloud at this point due to some of this rotation we are detecting from the radar imagery. Now, we're actually scanning about 2,500 feet above the surface right here. So it's not on the ground, but at least it's a lower scan. The radar beam is fairly close to this particular thunderstorm at the lowest level. So that's good. We can get a better handle on that. All right, our shear rate is kicking out, and this kind of goes back to what Alex was just reporting via one of our internal chats here at the TV station. Some gusty wind, maybe up to 45 in some of these storms. This green not only illustrates where there could be some tornado potential, but also where we have some very strong wind potential. Some of that moving into the Tupelo area right now.
And they've pulled another severe thunderstorm warning just south. So it includes a little further south, so it includes Saltillo, Mantachie, and towards Red Bay. It is just north of Tupelo.
Okay, so they are basically broad brushing, and thanks, Tyler. Jacob is on his way towards the Marietta community at this point. The National Weather Service in Memphis is highlighting all the way from Saltillo to Red Bay, Alabama, essentially with the severe thunderstorm warning until 5:45. For some gusty wind and maybe some hail. So the brighter pinks illustrates where we have some large hail, probably in and around Guntown right now. Let's go to our hail radar product. And you don't see the white, but there's probably some very large hail in that at this point. That would be along highways 348 and 370. And going back towards the East Prentice storm, wow, there's probably some extremely large hail in that area of the storm, now into southern parts of Tishomingo County right now. All of that purple west of Dennis, basically right over Bay Springs Lake and now east of there. That purple, that black right there illustrating where we probably have some very large hail at this point. Now, so out ahead of these storms, we tend to see large hail, spooky clouds, a gusty wind, very heavy rainfall. And then behind it is where we would expect to see some rotation to show on up. And let me pop back on some of our markers, and we'll do the latest storm track on this. And this is going to take it towards the Dennis area by 4:48. And our one of the other aspects of this storm's kind of hard for me to point out, but our BTI value there is a scale of 0 to 10. The higher that number, the better odds of a potential tornado. So we're in the meaty range of the mid-levels here as far as that scale is concerned. And the other thing to note, too, hail size, maybe golf ball size, 90% chance of severe hail in this, and basically 100% chance of at least some hail here across northeast Mississippi here into southern parts of Tishomingo County right now. So we have large hail, some gusty wind. Amanda, what do you got?
We have Jacob. He is on the Natchez Trace Parkway heading towards Marietta. So again, he's probably, I would think, somewhere between Guntown and Kirkville. So he's heading towards that storm.
Okay, so Jacob is somewhere up here trying to chase some of this activity up here. He may not be able to catch the one up here that is slipping into southern Tishomingo, but he's on these storms.
And just for reference, Alex is in Saltillo.
Okay, so Alex is in Saltillo, and Jacob is trying to chase some of the storms in Prentice County at this point.
Toward Marietta.
Okay, so we are continuing to follow the situation. It's 4:42. This is severe weather coverage on WCBI TV and also WCBI.com. We're doing a simulcast on our Facebook channel as well. So follow along with us today as we go throughout the course of the afternoon. We have Doppler radar indicated tornado warnings now for this storm that is basically the rotation is essentially over Bay Springs Lake, the southern part of it. There's the East Prentice community, east of Marietta. So this is where we've been following over the last couple of minutes. That green, that red right there near the Moores Mill community, that is the southwestern aspect of the storm cell that we are most concerned about. So these are supercell storms, they're very tall storms, and they rotate, and they spit out a lot of rain and hail, and all of that purple and pink there near Dennis, that's likely some very large hail. And let's go to our hail swath, and this is a pretty good indication. You can see these swaths that go all the way back over the last hour towards New Albany. This is where we've had some large hail there, and also some storms that have produced some large hail near Boonville. We've had reports of that. So if you have some severe weather to report, report safely to National Weather Service, to us here at WCBI, our weather account there, weather@wcbi.com, that's our email. Also follow us on Twitter and Facebook too. We'll try to get those reports. But large hail, probably the main aspect of weather today that could be severe, that could affect a good chunk of people, and wind. Very few people will actually see a tornado today, but the tornado potential overall in northeast Mississippi is much higher than it typically is. And that's why we are doing this coverage at this point. So any one of these storms may become supercellular and produce some large hail and some wind. Let's go to our Alpha Insurance camera in Tupelo. Let's see what's coming on into Tupelo. And this is looking back to the west. I'm going to shift this around again, back to the right a little bit so we can see what's rolling on into Tupelo. So this is how things look in Tupelo, looking back to the north-northwest, and right there, that is a distinct lowering right there. That's a bit of a lowering. That kind of goes along with the radar imagery we are watching. So keep this in your mind. I'm going to go back to our radar product, and we would be watching that part of the storm cell here up towards Belden, west of Beach Springs. So that could be producing some very heavy rain and some large hail. Let's go back to that sky cam right now. So we have that lowering right there. It's not showing signs of tornadic potential at this point, but just looking at that, that's an ominous looking horizon here, very dark, some low clouds, some very heavy rainfall, probably some hail falling in this as well. So that's a live look, 4:45 here from our Tupelo camera, Alpha Insurance camera in downtown Tupelo, looking back to the north. All right, so any one of these storm cells could produce some very heavy rain and even some hail, even back towards Pontotoc. We are not going to forget about you, but those are not currently as strong as these storm cells that are essentially from Guntown to the Dennis community here. So why are we on the air right now? Well, we are on the air because there's a tornado warning for this storm cell here that is now moving into southern parts of Tishomingo County. We have large hail near Dennis and likely a wraparound effect here producing a funnel cloud, or maybe at some point we would expect maybe a tornado or something to drop out of this. So this is Doppler radar indicated that we've got the green and the red couplet there. That is where we have some fast-moving wind in different directions. And this is our shear rate product. So near Moores Mill right there, right along the trace, that's where we have some fast-moving wind that, again, could produce a tornado at any time. So this product really cleans that big mass of color up for you. So where we show you these colors, this just illustrates the best potential of where we have some of the fastest-moving wind going on at this particular time. Again, 446 just west of Belmont here near the Moores Mill community. You are looking at the best potential for any tornadic development. So that would be with this little aspect right here, this little hook appendage right there, right along the trace. So we were mentioning earlier, Jacob's on his way up here along the trace right there trying to intercept this thing. So we will be in contact with him as we are able to. But out ahead of that rotation, we have likely some very large hail now from Dennis east over towards the Bloody Springs community, far southeastern parts of Tishomingo County, and right along Highway 25 right there from the Neal area down to Belmont. There was probably some very heavy rain and some large hail in this storm cell. Again, our product here that shows the white, that is likely some very large hail near the Dennis community in Tishomingo County. And this also cleans up the noise a tad bit, and you can see that little bit of an appendage there with our southwestern flank of this storm. So, Amanda, do you have any new updates you want to chime in?
Not as far as the tornado goes, but we do have an update on the hail. There was a quarter-size report in the Marietta area near Prentice County, or in Prentice County. So again, that has now moved well to the east. That storm has now moved well to the east, but confirmation that there is at least quarter-size hail in that storm. We're still seeing it on our hail radar, and they've extended that they've extended it to be a severe thunderstorm warning east into the Alabama border with a tornado possible tag.
Okay, so National Weather Service Huntsville is carrying over the tornado warning as a severe thunderstorm warning for these areas here in the west, Alabama too. That would be east of Tishomingo County. That does include all these areas here between Pleasant Site and the Malone community here, right across northwestern Alabama. So this is, if nothing else, is a big hailstorm coming your way into northwest Alabama. But we still have some of this low-level shear, and again, this is just along and just southeast of the Natchez Trace. Right there, we're getting a maximum as far as our shear rate right now. And that is where the fastest moving wind would be. So if nothing else, there's probably like a pretty good outflow coming in out of that storm and stirring up the wind as it rotates on the backside of the storm cell here across our region. So right now this tornado warning goes until 5 o'clock here on this Monday afternoon, and we will just continue to stay with us until we lead up to WCBI News at 5. But right now we are tracking a couple of big storms. Doppler radar indicated tornado warnings here across the region, and the storms line all the way back up to just north of Tupelo and the southern cell there northwest of Houston over towards Holka, and that too could perk up a little bit more so later on. And there's a broken line of clouds that goes all the way back down to Calhoun City and even Winona. You are on the far southwestern flank of some of this activity here.
Tornado warning.
Okay.
They're in the clear.
So now the tornado warning is just for southern Tishomingo County, and that basically goes with where the storm is right now. So we've cleaned out some of the junk. We're now getting a low-level shear lock on this, so things are perking up a little bit more. So Doppler radar indicated a possible tornado near the New Bethel area west of Belmont here in southern parts of Tishomingo County. Very large hail out ahead of it. Potential tornado developing here on the southern flank of this. And let's go to our velocity product. You can see that couplet right there near the New Bethel area right there. And this is along County Road 17 and County Road 961. So that's where we have the best low-level spin going on. And as we go to our shear rate product, you can really see right here, this is doing a very good job of depicting where we have the fast-moving wind and the potential wind that is spinning around and producing a funnel cloud and maybe a tornado. So this is Doppler radar indicated until 5 o'clock. Belmont, you need to be in your safe zone right now. Hopefully you are doing so in these areas around the New Bethel community. Anywhere between there along County Road 961 towards Belmont and over towards Highway 25 between Dennis and Belmont. Southeastern Tishomingo County, you are under the gun for a tornado warning. This goes until 5 o'clock, but we are looking at some pretty good signature, at least as far as radar imagery, as far as where we may see some tornadic development. So meteorologist Jacob Dickey is trying to intercept that storm at some point. We'll try to get to you his feed here shortly. This warning goes until 5 o'clock, so we're still looking at another 9 minutes at least of warning potential here, and if this thing holds together, may continue a tornado warning even as it slips across the state line. Again, the Weather Service in Huntsville going with a severe thunderstorm warning at this point for areas east of Mississippi's state line, but we'll just see how this all goes here, because this is a pretty good-looking storm cell from a radar perspective right now. So again, this is a developing weather situation right now. We have some low-level wind shear going on. This is our storm relative velocity, and this is a pretty good job of getting out ahead of some of the other noise that you may see with some of these storms, that subtracts some stuff and gets us a better view of what's going on within the storm. So the green and the red right there, that's a pretty good indication, that little couplet right there, that we do have some low-level spin going on. Let's pop on one of these skits, and we're getting a shear skit here, and we are still looking at a BTI value of 4.3. That's the meaty part of the curve here. Between 0 and 10, so that's pretty good as far as tornado potential is concerned. We'd love to see that number much, much lower, because that means the tornado threat would be a little bit lower. But that's the storm cell we are contending with at this point. Let me get the latest numbers. It just updated itself. Again, very large hail likely out ahead of it, but right there with the storm cell, we are looking at this area of possible rotation essentially over Belmont right now. So if you're in Belmont, you need to be in your safe zone right now. You need to be protecting yourself, because this is a dangerous situation at this point. It's 4:53, and we have a Doppler radar indicated tornado warning type situation. We have the storm cell that is moving towards Belmont by 4:56, Bloody Springs by 5:02, and over here in the West Alabama, the Pogo community by 5:02, and maybe the Pleasant Site community too by 5:05. So there's our updated scan, and the hail core is now shifting across the state line. So ahead of it, all of that is very large hail, and the rotation aspect right over Belmont, that is where we would expect to see some potential tornado development. All right, so let me clean out some of those lines for you. So this is a more defined view of where we have some of this fast-moving wind. And all of that bright green is wind flowing towards the radar site. The red is going away. So right over Belmont right now, if there's going to be a tornado, it's going to be in the community of Belmont here in southeastern parts of Tishomingo County. So do exercise your severe weather plan. We had a storm here last year about this time in the same general area that looked very similar to this, moved through southeastern Tishomingo County and produced a brief tornado over in the West Alabama. So we'll just see how this all shakes out. Behind me, all of that purple, all of that black, near the Pogo community, that is very large hail, perhaps quarter to golf ball size or larger, and wrapping back around it is that mesocyclone, and that is where we have the rotating part of the storm. So lots of going on here across northeast Mississippi today. Don't forget, we remain under a tornado watch until 11 o'clock officially for a good chunk of the area. That tornado threat, the severe weather threat, is probably going to be winding down here over the next couple of hours.
Alcorn, Tippah, and Union County have been dropped from that tornado watch.
Okay, so we are dropping some counties as we speak. So if you are behind this line of storms right now, you are out of the severe weather threat. That does include New Albany, Ripley, Boonville, Corinth. It looks like you are now severe weather free from this point forward. It should be a pretty nice evening once this line of activity moves away from your area. But we continue to watch down to the southwest, even towards Calhoun County, some of these rogue storm cells that could get going a little bit more so as we go throughout the evening hours. Now, I will say, I don't have this product loaded right now, but the better tornado chance, better severe weather threat going forward will be from here over into north central Alabama as we go throughout the next couple of hours. So yes, we do have a couple of cells that go back down to the southwest, but we would expect to see the better severe weather threat overall to start kicking to our east by sunset here. That is certainly good news, assuming
they have
the
reissued
data
that
is
until 5:15, that tornado warning.
So the tornado warning for southeastern Prentiss or southeastern Tishomingo County continues until 5:15. For those of you expecting to see WCBI News at 5, we will join that show as soon as the storm exits our coverage area. So we will stay with this tornado warning situation for at least another 10 to 15 minutes as the storm continues to affect southeastern parts of Tishomingo County here. So we are letting everybody know in production we're going to stay here on the weather side for another couple of minutes here, probably until 5:15, and we'll just see how this all plays out. But again, I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. This is severe weather coverage on WCBI TV. Meteorologist Amanda Reynolds behind the scenes here helping me out. We've got Alex Puckett and Jacob Dickey out in the field too. we are canvassing across our coverage area today, trying to get some information out to you and to let everybody know what's going on. We remain under that tornado watch until 11 o'clock tonight, as we just mentioned, and I can show you that real quick if you were just tuning on into the situation. All these areas in the yellow, including the Golden Triangle area, West Alabama, tornado watch until 11, but we are trimming some of these counties back as soon as that line of storms moves to your east. So that will be changing as we go throughout the next couple of hours for sure. We will not have a tornado watch in effect for our area all evening long. That is probably not going to be the case. All right, so right now we have a couple of strong storms. Let's go back and inspect the storm over here towards Belmont. This is the most intense. This is the most serious. Let's go back to our shear rate. We have a couple of areas of concern. And over here towards the Golden community, here northeast of Belmont, this is fast-moving wind, and it could be going in different directions. If nothing else, you're going to see some strong straight-line wind out of this. And Alex reported earlier maybe some wind gusts up to about 45 miles per hour in some of this activity earlier today. And that is right on the leading edge of this what we would call a rear flank downdraft. That would be on the backside of this cyclone here, this mesocyclone. There's the updated scan. So the best looking potential for rotation would be northeast of Belmont, right up in here, and that would be along County Road 993 and County Road 70. East of Belmont by, let me do a little distance tracker here. This would be east of downtown Belmont by about 3 miles. So right up in here is where we probably have the best potential for some tornadic development up in there, or generally any one of these locations here east of Belmont. So just a rough guess. We're scanning at about 2,500 feet above the surface. So there's 2,500 feet of things that could be going on below that scan. Amanda?
There was a confirmed funnel cloud at 4:55, so 4 minutes ago, crossing Highway 25 near Belmont.
Okay, so, and that's pretty good. So about 5 minutes ago near Belmont, as that rotation was moving across Highway 25. So this thing is still rotating.
Also tennis ball size hail. Probably that same report.
So whoever's reporting this, tennis ball size hail and a funnel cloud 5 minutes ago with the storm as it moved on through. So let's just put on our hail swath here, and we've had a good swath of very large hail. Tennis ball size hail doesn't happen in this part of the world too often, but today we're getting some large hail reports. So anywhere across these areas, there's probably been some hail damage too. All right, so that is our hail swath of the last hour, and some of these other storms have been producing hail all the way back out towards New Albany in southeastern Union County today. So a lot of stuff happening here. Let's go, and we're getting a couple other shear locks here and some of these other storm cells. So let me just tell you that any one of these storm cells is could quickly become, let's just say, tornadic, just the way they're all lined up here. So we are watching every one of these storm cells because some of these are rotating. Let's go back down to our storm relative velocity here. And let me turn off some of this other noise. But sometimes we get some data corruption with some of this. But the best low-level spin at this point, I'm going to do a 30-minute lapse, is going to be shifting now east of Belmont, right there. That part of the thunderstorm now moving into northwest Alabama. It looks like we now have a new tornado warning for northwest Alabama. So they're carrying over that tornado warning over across the state line. So Pleasant Site, the Seven Pines community right here, it looks like the better tornado potential now is shifting off to our east, and the storm cell is pulling away. So right now we are looking at the best tornado potential now shifting east out of our coverage area. Real quick, go back to look at Tupelo, and a live look at Tupelo with our Alpha Insurance camera. The storm's coming on in, and what we're going to do here in a moment is go to break. We're going to come back and do WCBI News at 5 o'clock here, a little bit delayed, but we have some storms moving through Tupelo. The tornado threat now is shifting east of our coverage area into northwest Alabama, and again, the tornado warning that had been in effect for southeastern parts of Tishomingo County looks like The worst part of the storm is shifting over across the state line out of our coverage area. So we will continue to monitor these other storm cells in southwestern parts of Tishomingo and other parts of Lee County and Itawamba counties. But right now, we're going to go to break. We're going to come back and do WCBI News at 5 o'clock, and we'll just keep you updated here as we go throughout the course of the evening.
This has been a WCDI First Alert Severe Weather Update. Stay connected with the First Alert Weather Team online at WCDI.com, on social media, and on your mobile device with the WCDI News app.
Did you happen to clear the view?
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.